Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Astro Tarot Deep Dive. This is our deep dive for May, and we didn't do in April. I mean, this tends to happen. Susheela and I were talking. This tends to happen. Mercury retrogrades. We try to coincide calendars. I mean, Susheela is in Canada. I'm in Los Angeles. Not that that really matters, but we have our own things going on. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're going to do a little bit of a recap of April, and then we're going to dive into May. But
Mhm.
I think we, at this point, I like doing hindsight type of things because it's one thing to forecast the potential of a month ahead, and it's a completely different thing to come from a space of hindsight and what did I learn and how did that feel?
Totally.
Yeah. So just to recap, the most important events of April were the Mercury retrograde in Aries that was from April 1st to April 25th, the solar eclipse in Aries of April 8th, the
Mhm.
Jupiter-Uranus conjunction of April 20th, and the full moon in Scorpio of April 25th. So when we look at all of this, especially the first couple of weeks of April, all of this fire energy, Aries Aries season is the beginning of the zodiac year. So there is an element of wanting to start. We have that fire energy burning within and wanting to move forward with things. And right at the beginning of the month, we get hit with a Mercury retrograde saying, not so fast, not so fast. Only for a week later for the solar eclipse, which represents a new part of us showing up, this emergence of ourselves, this emergence of even new situations and circumstances in our lives. And to me, that felt like the cosmos saying, here's a new thing. And before you move forward, take it in. That was the Mercury retrograde, taking it in and really getting comfortable with how this new chapter with that solar eclipse, how it actually fits in your life, who and what fits in it and not, and having to just kind of be with the reality of that.
Mhm.
And because of the nature of Aries, it felt very forceful. I think it felt very in your face, very like, oh, that's abrupt and rude.
Yeah, like a door slamming in your face almost.
Right, right. And then we get to the second half of April, which, thank goodness, took us into Taurus season, that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which I have seen truly manifest for some people in the last couple of weeks after that April 20th. And it was about when there is this interruption of a pattern in your life, you will grow and expand. And the interruption of a pattern is Uranus. So that can be the interruption of a way of thinking, a way of relating, a way of working, a way of living, a way of being in general. When that part is interrupted, and that part is different for everyone, you
Mhm.
will grow and expand and evolve, Jupiter. That full moon in Scorpio, ooh, I think that's when it all landed. That's when the three previous events of April landed, and we're like, oh, this is the death and rebirth cycle.
Mhm.
This is, I think it was a very felt sense, visceral experience of this is real and this is ending and I'm gonna go in that direction and that feels very new. It was like it all finally landed. And that
Mhm.
was event week after week after week,
Yeah,
every single week of April.
yeah.
Yeah,
Layered. It was a big, heavy duty layer cake with like layers of cement in between, I think.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, did you want to share the cards for that now or?
Yeah. Well, I pulled two just as a separate thing to sort of recap the month, but just as a little progression that we had on a weekly basis with the card of the week. So when you talk about that slow pace and everything, we had the Knight of Pentacles, which is the slowest moving knight. It's like, make sure you have sure footing.
Mhm.
It also talks about loyalty and integrity and reliability and all of those things, not to be rushed. So sometimes the universe slows us down
Mhm.
that we can actually appreciate and pay attention to those details. Like
Mhm.
sometimes when things come too easy, the things that we want or relationships or whatever, if everything is too easy, we don't take the time to really value what is being received or presented or the importance of it or things like that. So it felt very much like the universe, like, okay, so you really want this? Do you have time to be mindful? If it is this important to you, can you be mindful and digest it in this way?
Mhm.
And then we had, oh, there was like, there was a whole lot in there, but we also moved into um, the High Priestess, which is a major archetypal card about trusting your intuition. Because I think as we were hitting mid-month and around the full moon and everything, and people were getting all emotional, they didn't know what to rely on anymore,
Right.
how to come back into your intuition. And how do you trust your intuition? How do you know it's your intuition and not your thoughts? And that was like a major theme in there with the High Priestess. Also knowing that we will never know everything,
Mhm.
and to be able to be okay with that. Like most things we're not going to be able to know. Most plans will fall through. Mostly nothing goes according to plan. So, well, why do we do it? Well, so that we have some kind of contingency or method of we have to strike a balance between the over planning, analysis paralysis, and whatever, flying by the seat of our pants all the time in total chaos.
Right.
So there was that feeling around that time with the High Priestess of like, again, layered with the energy of the Knight of Pentacles, like step calmly. If you don't know, if you're too confused, stop.
Mhm.
Nothing's telling you to dive in. Like I personally love the moon in Scorpio and a full moon in Scorpio. I'm just in my element because I sit back and eat my popcorn and watch a lot of stuff happen, and it's great for me. But that's what I was witnessing. People just like losing their minds basically.
Mhm.
And as we went forward towards the end of the month, we had the Six of Wands, which is victory. And people were like, I don't feel like I have a victory. I don't feel like I have anything within my grasp. What are you talking about? And
Mhm.
it was again to shift our perspective to the things that are actually working, because stuff was happening. It's just not what we wanted all of this and none of it went. And then these various avenues opened up where people or whatever the things were that came through, money, checks, contracts or whatever.
Right.
It's just not the things you thought. And so instead of going, I'm not going to look at that because that thing over there is still the thing that I want and I don't have it yet. And why don't I have it yet? I've been purging and cleansing and standing on my head and, praying with babies and whatever, and I still don't have it. But it's like to pay attention to the victories that we have, because the universe is giving us, yeah, these really cool things. If you really say, these are the things you want, and you're really going to dedicate yourself to it, and you're really open and you're really changing, then none of this other stuff is going to do anymore. So that's when the universe is like slamming the door and we're going, ah, that's so harsh. Well, the universe is like, yes, because you said you wanted this and you're still doing that. So I'm going to take it away from you so you can do this. Stupid.
Mhm.
Like, but so,
Right.
so that feeling of victory, and to have that anchor too, there was like a feeling of um, trying to anchor ourselves into something so that we would feel tethered, because there was a lot of untethered.
Yeah.
emotions. And so the two cards that I just pulled, they're not tarot, but they're oracle. One is the shapeshifter, and it says transform and unveil your gifts, which I think is a reminder to focus again on the stuff that is working, the stuff that we have, our innate abilities. And then there's the mountain, which, as I was telling Millie off the recording, so it says stand your ground. If you've ever climbed somewhere, often you can't see the peak from where you're starting.
Mhm.
And the beginning of your trek, it's super easy, but it gets more and more difficult the longer you've been at it. But the longer you've been at it, it's the closer you are to the peak. And the closer it is before you can come down again. And so that's, we forget that. It's just like, it just feels like it's a never ending uphill battle. So
Mhm.
it's again that reminder that we're entering into this phase. I think May is maybe the best month of the year, with that new moon being the best new moon of the year. Where
Mhm.
stuff is, if I think
Mhm.
if we can let go of the reins and go, this is going to be the best month of the year,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then let the universe bring me whatever it is, and I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to put aside my preconceived notions and let the universe guide me. I think that will optimize the energies for the month.
I think so too. I think it's important to remember that the gift of Taurus in the zodiac is the wisdom and simplicity.
Hmm.
Right. And so the wisdom in simplicity lies in us. What does that look like for us? It looks like what truly matters to me? What is truly important to me? And how do I focus on that? How do I bring my time, energy, attention, and effort to the things that feel fulfilling and grounding? And when we begin to take stock of our life and the things and the people in our life that actually fall under that criteria, I think it helps simplify a lot of things. It
Yeah.
helps streamline a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that's what we're being asked to focus on right now because there's something so much bigger happening collectively, in terms of collective consciousness, that
Hmm.
as individuals, we're being guided, almost stewarded towards the simplest thing possible right now so that we are able to grow individually, but also grow with the collective, which is something that I don't think we can ignore. It's such a part of us now. And that connection has always been real, but the degree to which we will understand that connection is only going to get clearer and clearer as years move on. And I think that this new moon actually has so much to do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that you said this, the simplicity, because we have complicated things to such a degree that collectively we are so overwhelmed.
Yep.
Individually, we are so overwhelmed, and we look at everything and we're like, everything's getting worse. It's very
Hmm.
easy to fall into that space.
Right.
So that's the part where you can pull back and go, fine, I don't need that then. I don't
Right.
need that in my life. Even though we think we do, we always thought we did, we don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for if there's anyone out there who has at any point within the last, 2 to 8 weeks even experienced like an abrupt ending of something or something feeling like it's pulled from underneath you and you're like, what? I thought I could count on that and now you just can't.
Yeah.
Please understand that this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, there is a lot of Jupiter in the zodiac represents like a guiding light, an angel that we do not see. And
Mhm.
Uranus right there is the abrupt ending of things. So it's this, you're not losing anything. It's actually a very good redirection in your life, a very positive redirection in your life. So that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction and this new moon in Taurus, which we'll get to in a second, play a significant role for the next 14 years. Which is
Mhm.
why the clearing of so many things in our lives had to take place this eclipse season.
Yeah.
because we're talking about a much larger role, a much larger timeline.
Hmm.
Okay, so that takes us into May. And I think that the one of the more important aspects of the first week of May was Pluto going retrograde in Aquarius at 2 degrees Aquarius. And Pluto will remain retrograde till October 11th. But in that retrograde is actually going to go back into the 29th degree of Capricorn in September. So this Pluto retrograde is about us integrating everything that has happened from January 20th of 2024 to pretty much May 1st, right? So through that eclipse season, Pluto goes retrograde. Pluto in Aquarius represents the transformation that has to occur in order for you to have a different future.
Hmm.
Transformation, Pluto, new future, Aquarius. And so over this time, between May 2nd and October 11th, Pluto retrograde is about saying, accepting, like further acceptance of perhaps it looks like, oh, this person really isn't in my life anymore. Oh, I actually don't live there anymore. I live here now and I get to make community here now and I should go outside and talk to the people who live here now. Like it's really fundamental and foundational towards what we're moving towards. And when Pluto goes retrograde, I think it's the cosmos being kind and saying, you need to integrate this. You need to really let this in your life.
Yeah. So because we're recording this on the 5th, and so we had all of April and then the first week of May kind of underway. I had four cards for the aspects of everything up until today. So we have the 5 of Cups, the 7 of Pentacles, the 3 of Wands, and the 10 of Swords. And I would say this month we've got a little bit of everything going along. Maybe less cups than everything else, but often it's all loaded in one area, but it's more blended than usual.
Yeah.
So this feeling, especially with the 5 of Cups, is like you might feel like you're pulling yourself out of a hole
Hmm.
and constantly, and you come out of the cave or you come out of the puddle or whatever, and it's raining and it's a thunderstorm and you're like, oh my god, like the urge to go back when
Hmm.
you're going forward is strong, but it's not, because it's just a cup card, it's a minor arcana, it's not a major archetypal life thing. It's those little things that we get caught up in. And fives are all about change. So they're very transient energies.
Mm.
And the 3 of Wands again is like to remember to start planning the stuff. It's okay to have the dreamer come out again and not be in that place where everything I dream about falls apart. So what's the point?
Hmm.
I'm not being realistic.
Hmm.
But to put that in the place of, no, this is the playful, creative place. Of course, it's not going to be exactly like that. But that's how I open up to the universe and the magic and the whatever. It's when I start getting rigid with this dream, or I live in that space all the time.
Right.
That's a problem. And
Yep.
I think this 10 of Swords is is really that feeling of like, what do you mean Pluto's going retrograde? I thought we were entering a new era. That's like months of retrograde. That can't be good. What do you mean, Maze? Blah. And okay,
Hmm.
so in there somewhere, there it is. There we have our 7 of Pentacles, which is good. There is growth. There's major growth to focus on. And it's, as you say, we're entering this new era. Stuff is going to be taken away, stuff is going to fall apart, and even though we know that, we're still used to being who we are, doing what we do in the way that we do it. The universe is like, stop it, stop it. And
Yeah.
it gets taken away because our feeling and our desire for what is greater than the lure of the past,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't always know how to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
it just gets removed.
Yeah.
And then we go through a bit of a Ten of Swords feeling of like, fine, then I'm just going to sit here and cry.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's I feel for us. I feel for us and having to gone through an April and that first week of May.
Yeah.
It is a lot for our little human souls. And and I think this just goes to further support why spirituality in our lives is so important,
Yeah.
because it allows us to, even if we don't have a clear picture, to remember there's something larger at play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to understand, somehow, some way, we were told erroneously that in order to be successful we must always be goal oriented and everything needs to be scheduled and accounted for, and we will know everything. The more we learn, the more we will know, and that will solve all the problems. And it's like, hell no. We will
Yeah.
never know and get over the wanting to know everything. Be curious, be open,
Hmm.
but it's that categorizing and over planning and all of that stuff, it just leads us to disappointment. So to be
Yeah.
able to navigate, how to navigate the turmoil,
Hmm.
is the skill that we need more than the put everything in its box.
So true. So true.
which
Yeah.
which is a nice segue for you to tell us about May 6th.
Right. Right. So we move into May 6th and we have a Mercury Chiron conjunction at 21 degrees Aries. So this is actually a very important conjunction that I think we might even be feeling the weekend of the 4th and the 5th. And the reason for that is that Mercury in its retrograde through Aries created a conjunction to Chiron two other times. The first one was March 20th, and the second time was April 15th, and the third time is May 6th. So whenever we have patterns, especially of threes, that is the universe saying there's a story that's unfolding here. It's a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I invite you to think about, maybe not those exact dates, but to think about the trajectory of either a thought or a conversation that you have been having since March 20th through this week, and how that has healed in some way. A Mercury Chiron conjunction has had to do with difficult conversations, but difficult conversations that have led to healing, or uh, difficult breakthroughs, difficult realizations about ourselves that maybe came through therapy, for instance, or coaching or whatever, that gave us greater insight into ourselves. Chiron there, I think this is where we truly get to experience the wisdom that comes from the wounded healer.
Mhm.
This wisdom is not coming to us easily at all, but the cosmos found it important enough to repeat that three different times within a span of like 8 weeks. So that's that.
So throughout all of this time, people keep asking when it's the weekly card in the class, are we getting this card yet? Is it this card? And I'm like, no, no, it's not that bad yet. Well, it is. For May 6th, we have the Tower card, which is not bad because it is the final shakedown,
Right.
of
Yeah.
everything. It's like now you can hit the kaboom button and
Right.
blow it to smithereens, like,
Hmm.
really. So this is probably the nicest tower I've experienced in a long time. And
Right.
it's no coincidence that it just popped up there, first card out of the reading. So
That's so appropriate. This is definitely a tower moment,
yeah,
especially if for those of you who are having difficult conversations, important conversations with others, these conversations are turning point moments. So pay attention to that, which I think is amazing, because then that leads us to May 7th, which is the new moon in Taurus, at 18 degrees Taurus. Okay. I know that we had the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction back on April 20th. But to me, because there was so many other things going on around that time, this is actually the event that sets off the opening of that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. So this new moon in Taurus opens up a 6-month energetic window that ends with the full moon in Taurus of November 15th. That means that between May 7th and November 15th, we are to implement a lot of practical things into our lives that serve as our foundation, whether it's literal and physical for some people, or for others, it's more of, I'm going to integrate my new value system as to how I want to relate to others or to myself, that then ushers us into that 14-year cycle of Jupiter and Uranus. This is Jupiter, Uranus, the interruption of a pattern, that when you interrupt it, you commit to interrupting it, you commit to coming back to yourself, you will grow and expand in the long run. This is a beautiful new moon that I think it has a lot to do with a sense of self-worth, self-trust, money, skills, knowledge, really great things.
And for people who don't know, I mean, the people who've been following us for a long time know this, but anybody new, we do not discuss ahead of time what cards are going with the days
Right.
or the aspects. And I don't even choose the cards based on those. I let the cards show up based on the energy. They show up as they show up. And I am never disappointed because the energy, you cannot dispute the energy, basically. So on that day, we have the Ace of Pentacles.
Mm.
Pentacles are all about practical things, material things, tangible things, money. Aces are about the start of something. So it's a foundational thing. It is really, I mean, for a new moon to have an ace is really about planting a seed for something that's going to show up later. And what is it that you're planting?
Mm-hmm.
An opportunity, a conversation, a callback, a methodology, an ideology, whatever. It's that walking through a door.
Right.
And we've been walking through many doors all this time, but we're coming out of this tower. And then we get this opportunity. And again, we wouldn't have this if everything hadn't been stripped away, so that you
Right.
can actually stand there and go, okay, in my limited capacity, I thought I wanted ABC.
Mm-hmm.
I want to feel such and such. But I
Mm-hmm.
thought the way of doing that was ABC. The universe
Mm-hmm.
goes, ABC, no, not going to do
Right.
it. Not going
Right.
to cut. Out it goes. And so we feel like, oh, am I not meant to feel the things that I really want to feel? It's all been taken away. And then it's like, yeah, focus on the feeling and apply yourself practically.
Yep.
And it's really like, this is one of the best cards because it's not pie in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
It's practical and it's going to unfold. It's like the first step in the right direction, really. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I love that it's Pentacles because that's so Taurus. That's so
Yeah.
Tauran in nature.
Yeah.
So we move forward to May 11th, and I found that this was an important day to point out because the sun in Taurus gets to the degree that we have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in. And so now that the sun is there, what that means for us is that we have finally caught up and kind of accepted what these like abrupt or significant changes have been all about during that eclipse season. And the sun in Taurus is a reminder of it is what it is. So how do you show up in your best way possible, not in the attempt to be perfect, but in the understanding, hopefully, that all of this is happening for you and not to you. I think May 11th is a Saturday. I think that's a great weekend to kind of like contemplate and kind of find some alone time and say, okay, if you haven't been able to yet, to really sit down and think about what do I want to, this is a great time. What do I want to, what are the list of things that I need to do, right? What do I actually find joyful? What do I actually really want to do? Not an endless to-do list, but what do I actually want to do?
So when you mention the catching up kind
Mhm,
of a feeling,
mhm,
I have been talking about this feeling of like the slingshot,
mhm,
or you could think of it like a bow and arrow. There
mhm,
has to be this backwards motion, and then there's a pause,
mhm,
and then forward.
mhm,
And so the energy of this is that sudden forward movement.
mhm,
When we think of, we have
mhm.
the tower, then we have the Ace of Pentacles, ready to go. And the ready to go is not that all the, all the elements in a situation are all lined up. Your ducks are
Correct.
not in a row. They're not even, they're no ducks even. Forget the ducks. They're not even here yet. They're in a different city. We have the Knight of Swords, and knights are all champions of their suit. They protect and
Mhm.
challenge, and they're on a quest.
Okay.
This is the fastest moving knight in the deck. So when we talk about April having that Knight of Pentacles, the slow moving, methodical, whatever, the Knight of Swords is seeking to be like the king, clear thinking, higher perspective, um, speaking with integrity, um, lightning focus, directed in a not scattered energy. It's
Mm.
all directed, and it's all speedy, and it's not frivolous, but it's really directed, focused energy.
Yep. Yep. I like that because again, this Taurus energy is very much saying it is what it is. And so the focus, that element of focus really comes into play so that I think it's an invitation to stop wishing that things were different than what they are.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's our, it's a new concept that we think everything is supposed to be, life is supposed to be happy and this happily ever after.
Right.
Talk to our ancestors like 150 years ago and back, all the way back. They go, what are you smoking? Like, that's not the way it is. Life is a series of challenges, and you have to choose to be happy as it arises.
Hmm.
Life
Hmm.
isn't this thing. You can choose to be happy through all of the turmoil. But who do you think you are that you can manipulate everything going on? No, it's like
Right.
we're part of that, to understand, like to let go of the rain. We'll be so much happier
Hmm.
to just show up every day and work on ourselves and work hard and have integrity. Everything falls into place.
Right. Right. So that takes us into May 13th. So May 13th is a busy day. We have Venus and Taurus sextile Saturn and Pisces at 18 degrees, which is the degree of the new moon in Taurus of May 7th. Then we have a Sun Uranus conjunction at 23 degrees Taurus. And then we have Mercury coming out of its post retrograde shadow phase, which means that Mercury is coming to the 27th degrees of Aries, which is where it started its retrograde back on April 1st. So,
Mhm.
first things first, throughout the month of May, we're going to have these constant connections between Taurus and Pisces, Taurus and Pisces, Taurus and Pisces, and you'll see as we move through the month. What does that mean? Taurus, earth, Pisces, water. We put these together, creates fertile ground for something to grow in the long run. Susheela knows all about, right? Preparing the fertile ground for something to grow on and for something to be taken care of, right? And you have to be patient with that process. But here's like the like I think the magical elements of this. Taurus is the first sign, is the first earth sign of the zodiac. And what
Mhm.
it reminds us of is self-possession. I have me first, which means that whatever it is that we're setting the intention for needs to really come from a self-possessed place. What do I genuinely desire? What are my values? And how is that energy supporting my intentions? And Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, which represents, from a holistic perspective, just, I think, ultimate enlightenment and illumination of saying, oh, I've lived this entire life, which is represented by the previous 11 signs, and this is what I understand, and it's actually quite magical. These two energies coming together, when we remember what they represent, will carry us through. And there's no rushing this because Taurus is involved. So Venus sextile Saturn, what am I committing to? What am I committing to? Saturn, commitment. Venus and Taurus, practicality. This is great energy to get your finances in order. Venus and Taurus, Saturn. Sun, Uranus conjunction in Taurus. Again, the continuing of the catching up of that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. This is actually nice because on this week might be a really great week where you get good news, like this serendipitous encounters, the meeting the right person at the right time, being in the right place at the right time, especially because Mercury is finally coming out of its post-retrograde shadow phase. We can really say we
Mm,
are out of that.
totally. Yeah, it's so I have 3 cards for this, and it's really interesting because, when I think as humans, we have a hard time separating what it is we really want and desire and deserve from what is in our best interest. What
Mhm.
is in our best interest is not something negative, ever. It's never. And
Mhm.
so when we don't get what we want, there's this like petty aspect of ourselves that sits there and goes, I don't, why me? Why not me? Why them? Why why does it have to be so hard? Like all of that stuff. And so we have the 5 of Wands, which is petty internal conflict. This is that last little remnant before we really go with the flow. It is Aries energy because it's a wand, but it's on the lower, stagnant, like, oh come on, just be done with it. Like think of this as like a crying kid in the grocery store while you're trying to get through the cash. And
Right.
that it's that feeling. A lot of eye rolling, internal eye rolling going on
Yeah. Yeah.
there. And then we've got these 2 amazing things. And I'm going to show you the one really that represents the Pisces aspect mixed with the Taurus is the Queen of Cups. And
Yes.
it's like the Empress of the minor arcana. It is full of emotion. It's not emotional. It's the ability to express and read and be intuitive and be loving, and it's like the earth mother. It's like the embodiment of the Empress energy on earth. So it doesn't matter if you're male or female or however you want to identify. It's that it's that finding that emotional place in you and moving through your emotions in like such a deep and comfortable way. It's like
Mhm.
not the shadow part anymore. This is like choosing to feel positive about what's coming, not this grumbly, whiny, inner conflicted thing. This is a much higher vibrational card. And then once you start feeling that, guess what you bring through? So you talk about things growing and the patience to grow. It's the
Yeah.
Empress energy. We actually tap into that source energy, yin, feminist, not feminist, feminine. It's, because you hear a lot about the goddess
Hmm.
kind of stuff in feminism. It's not that, it's that balance of, when you think about the seasons and you think about things sprouting and maturing and dying and returning to the earth. Look at her. She's like growth herself. And so we
Oh,
ask
yeah.
for all these things. We push and we go, and especially Western society, we go, 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 and push, 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 and line everything up, and then they don't go our way, and restructure, and it's all active yang energy. When it doesn't go our way, what do? We do it harder, stronger,
Hmm. Hmm.
more focused, so much resistance. So with the Empress moving from that Five of Wands, and it's all in one day, you'll marry and break up with yourself 6 times that day, I think, until
Yeah.
you're like, okay, that's what it is. And you talked about stewarding, and you talked about commitment and all of that stuff. It's I think it's a commitment to your higher self.
Yes.
Let this petty stuff go, and allow yourself to receive. So the Empress is about, it's the divine feminine energy, which everybody has, in balance with the divine masculine energy. How do we stop with this aggressive go, 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 forcing all the time, to I can actually receive in the way that's better for me, in the way the universe wants to give to me.
Oh,
So
so well said.
it's like such a nice balance of energy. By the end, by the time we move out of that energy, it will all make sense.
So well said, because everything you touched on, it is so Venus and Taurus. And Venus and Taurus has not been this strong or activated in a few years.
Hmm.
And it's because of everything happening around her. And Venus and Taurus is the essence of, yeah, I'm going to receive because I'm worth it. Period. End of story. No questions. That's it. And in Taurus, it's just very matter of fact, right? And yes,
Yeah.
so well.
And matter of fact, in the sense of whatever I'm receiving is of the highest vibration. I don't need to dictate what and how and when.
Right.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing the work. So it's
Hmm.
coming. It's all coming to me. Whatever's coming to me is what is supposed to be coming to me. Like,
Hmm.
when we go from that space, like weird things that show up, or curveballs, or delays, it's all part of the bigger plan if you just like let go of that Five of Wands energy.
Right. Yeah. So that's interesting because I think that that five of wands energy will dissipate uh as Mercury moves into Taurus on May 15th. So we have Mercury in Taurus from May 15th to June 3rd. We need it. All of the things, all of the hard conversations, which I'm personally over. Um, Mercury in Taurus is like grounded energy, obviously, but it's about, okay, let's take things slowly, one thing at a time. It's kind of like coming back to ourselves mentally, especially if our mind has been in 100 different things. And it's like, no, 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 over here, over here. How do I want to start my day? How does my coffee taste? How does my body feel? Is my body up for the 10 things I have in my calendar, or do I cut it down to 3? Like one thing at a time, one step at a time, and giving yourself the permission to do it. Because remember, Venus and Taurus is the reminder of, I just get to have this, I get to be. And the Mercury, I think, brings an element of choosing that.
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to it.
You are going to love this card. Temperance,
Yes.
balance, patience. It's
Mhm.
like forcing doesn't happen, it's this bringing things back into harmony and being okay with not knowing all the details and
Mhm.
all the stuff and just focus on what's important and everything kind of falls into place because a bunch of other nonsense falls to the side. And so you just
Yeah.
start with like a nice simple seesaw, not like,
Right.
some kind of ride at, an amusement park. It's just a simple seesaw. We're back to a simple seesaw.
Right.
Down, up. Like,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
That Mercury in Taurus, I think, is really going to bring in the element on a daily basis of, no, I don't want to deal with that. No, I don't have time for that.
yeah, yeah. Not part of my identity anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, May 17th, we have a Mercury in Taurus square Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So this can be a time where you might find resistance in a few ways. One, if it's resistance within yourself, it's if you're saying to yourself, should I really only care about these things? What about everyone else? What about all of the other things? And having that internal conflict is more like it, that internal conflict. And Pluto in Aquarius being now retrograde, still bringing in that element of, well, okay, let's retrace steps and what used to happen to you when you used to go down that rabbit hole of chaos and drama, and how do you come back to yourself? Because you're committing to this,
Mhm.
right? Externally and in relationship and communication with others, it can be Mercury and Taurus. I've made up my mind. I don't do relationships in this way. You have to respect my timelines. If this is like the annoying boss sending you emails at 10 p.m. and expecting you to answer them at that time, and you saying no longer doing that, and the Pluto in Aquarius is your boss having a fit about it, and you saying that's okay, you can have a fit about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
I think
very direct energy.
yeah, I think there's a lot of realizing what is ours and what is not ours,
Mhm.
what we've stuck on, and brought with us. We've been shedding a lot of that conceptually
Right.
leading up to Pluto going into Aquarius in January, but it was conceptually.
Mhm.
Now we get to like really feel like, well, what is that? How does that show up in my life? Like, oh,
Mhm.
there it is. Oh, well,
Right.
I know what to do with you,
Right.
like, so here is we talked about him before, our Knight of Pentacles. And in this deck, it's super cute because he's not on a horse, he's on a turtle. And he's standing there and it's slow. And I find it really interesting that follows temperance.
Yeah.
Again, the balance. And keep in mind, things start going slow every time it feels like we're losing control of it or it becomes confusing or whatever. So this Knight shows up here to go like, okay, bring it back to simple again, simplify, slow it down. And remember, he is the Knight of the most integrity, the most, he's
Mm.
not self-righteous, he is actually righteous.
Mm. Mm.
And so we've been reflecting a lot on a lot of different things, our behaviors and our affiliations and our methodologies, belief systems. And everybody thinks they're a good person until things don't go their way, and don't go their way repeatedly. Then they think I must have done something wrong, not
Right.
really knowing what it is. So karmically, that Knight shows up to say, you have to walk your talk. Like you really have to walk your talk. And
Mhm.
it's going to be slow because you have to change, you have to unfold, you have to take little baby steps. But everything is bringing us to receptivity, but we have to walk our talk. You
Right.
can't get all of this stuff anymore without being in alignment with that higher frequency. So it's a
Yeah.
you know
I'm so glad you said that because one of the like divine if you will, expressions of Taurus energy is integrity. And I mean, that's something that all the earth signs share.
Hmm.
That's what they rule, integrity in the utmost expression. And that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction represented the most authentic expression of yourself. Well, the most authentic expression of yourself that can be shown to others is when you remain in integrity with yourself and your values.
Yeah.
I think there's also something about the unfolding about what we value in life that is also changing at the same time. And so that Mercury Pluto square, anything that touches Pluto, there's a transformation that's taking place. And it's taking place slowly because we're talking about two fixed signs, which are Taurus and Aquarius.
Yeah. And everything in the cards looks slow with, with
Yes.
temperance and, a knight coming in on a turtle. I mean, you know,
It's fertile.
we have time. We have time to load the cannon. He's approaching ever so slowly to the gates. Don't don't worry about it. Yeah. But
Exactly.
you know, prior to this, I would say as we unpack everything that we're going through individually slash collectively, it was easy for us to notice a lack of integrity over there and over there and over there and over there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's until we're left with like nothing,
Right.
do we begin to look at ourselves and go, well, maybe if karma is what it is, and it is a bit, it really is, it's not, karma doesn't, it's like the justice card in the tarot. It, even though it's not here yet, or may not be here at all, actually. Oh no, it is eventually. That feeling of it's impartial.
Right.
Karma is impartial. It's not doing something to you, you have done something to yourself. And so when we look at what's happening out there, it's like, what part of that have I contributed to? What part of that do I benefit from? What part, all of that stuff is mixed up in there. And so that's why that night comes in really slowly, so you can feel it,
Right.
taste it,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Um, as we move to May 18th, there's a little bit of a shift in the energy. Again, still in Taurus, so this can look a little differently. So we have the yearly Sun-Jupiter conjunction, except that this year it happens in Taurus. So on the one hand, what what you might notice is the description of this, it's the luckiest day of the year. Um, anything can happen, expect all of the things to come to you. I mean, maybe for some people, maybe, right? But to me, the Sun Jupiter conjunction in Taurus, I think it's greater awareness, greater understanding. This is a great time for you to, you know, yeah, especially with Mercury out of shadow retrograde, like share something, launch something, expose something, put something out there that
Mhm.
has to do with you, with the sun, your identity, and wanting it to be seen at large with that Jupiter energy. That's really great. If you have nothing like that going on, this can be about setting the intention to do something more responsible with finances,
Mm.
right? Opening a high yield savings account type of thing. Um, the Venus Uranus conjunction that also takes place on that day. This is where this is kind of exciting because Venus is one of the benefics of the zodiac coming together with Uranus. This can be like unexpected, pleasant surprises. And in Taurus, it can have to do with something really positive, perhaps even money. So this can also mean encounters with someone who can be love at first sight and I this is it. Be mindful of that because I think it can be a great day, even a great couple of days to meet someone, to meet with people, to meet with different communities, that kind of thing. But if it's like the love at first sight and things move very quickly, just be mindful of that.
Yeah, anything that's too good to be true
Yeah,
kind of feeling. Yeah,
yeah,
so
exactly.
I'll address that one first. So the 4 of Cups can be the inability to see new opportunities.
Mm,
And because we're conditioned in the way that we are, that and we're probably very cynical. So the collectively, with everything that's happened, and especially lately, carrying around this Mercury in the tower and the, slow moving turtles and whatnot, we can feel like not even recognizing the thing potentially. It's like, oh, well, we can go the other direction of like, that's too good to be true.
hmm
So we throw it out entirely instead of
right.
finding again that balance point of like, this is actually fun and this is titillating and this is, spontaneous and cool and whatever.
hmm
Finding the middle ground of like,
right.
let's just enjoy this and let it do whatever it's meant to do.
Agreed.
Being able to see, to I guess redefine our reality. This is very much like the glass is half empty, the glass is half full.
Got it.
Why are there those the only two options?
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's that kind of thing. Like,
A good point. Yeah.
I only want this much water. If I need more, I'll get more. Like what, that kind of mentality. With it, there is our partner. There's our other half to the Empress is the Emperor. And
Okay.
so I find it really interesting and very cool that, Temperance is sort of in between move, we're progressing. This is like a little story unfolding of how May works. So we have all of that, all of those depths of emotion and allowing and everything, and then coming back into balance and not going to extremes. And then, oh, then we have the other piece of that balance, which is the masculine yang energy of the emperor, of getting stuff done, of being creative, not passive at this point. So, action taking, stepping out of the comfort zone, seeking,
Right.
exploring, talking. Whereas the empress is the listening, the receiving, the allowing to come forth. So it makes this very nice balance, like in that middle part of May going into the end of May, of like tying off. Instead of going too far into one direction, it allows us to come back again. So this whole month, I hadn't really thought of it before, but as we're going, it's really about we're coming back into balance in a major
Right.
way.
And that makes a lot of sense because when you think of where the cosmic lovers are, they are in their home signs. Venus is in
Yeah,
Taurus, Mars is in Aries, and
yeah,
whenever that happens, um, there is a rebalancing of the masculine and feminine within all of us in our lives.
yeah.
And I really love what that card represents because if a lot of times we keep waiting for these events to happen and see what's going to happen, what's coming to me. And instead, this day is really lovely. And the week leading up to it, maybe even the week after, is about immersing yourself in the things that bring you joy and that you want to see grow. And that in itself is like you are in the process of doing the daily thing, and
Hmm.
this energy just comes in and showers it as you're just doing your thing, right?
Well, that Four of Cups is really like the expectation that an external something is going to
Mm,
bring us happiness, and therefore
mhm.
we can't quite see it. We
Right,
can't
right.
quite see or embrace the thing.
Yeah.
But it's us. We're the ones with the problem, not the external anything.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's, coupled with that, um, with the emperor, it's no, you have to take action. If you want the thing, you have to do the thing. You have to
Right.
balance out that receptivity. It's not an external, it's not external gratification or validation, or it's not an external event that then makes you happy or makes you angry.
Right. Right.
It's you, it's us.
Hmm. I mean, I think that May 18th and 19th is a weekend. Um, Either way, whatever days they are, May 19th, we have the Sun in Taurus create a sextile to Neptune in Pisces. I mean, talk about such a great day for creativity, for like using your imagination. Um, just and this can feel like going like to a sound bath meditation and going through a guided meditation on an inner journey and really grounding a lot of the things that have been coming up for you, connecting body and spirit.
Mm,
That might be a day where, you might just want to take it very slowly and not have much on calendar and just focus on honestly on doing things that bring you joy. Those 2
mm,
days are like joy days. What
mm.
brings you joy?
So we have the strength card here on that day. So it's another major.
Mhm.
Um, it's very cute also.
Yeah.
So, it's typically a Leo card, but
Mhm.
it's, you know, the character is naked. So that's this vulnerability,
Mhm.
like exposing yourself to this wild animal, this beast, and to be able to be in that calm space. So I feel that with this card on that day, it's really about empowerment. Like,
Yeah.
strength can mean many things. Sometimes it feels more like courage. Sometimes it feels like the need to like fight against something, but this just feels like empowerment,
Mhm. Mhm.
vulnerability, empowerment, confidence, like, knowing, like an inner knowing, an inner grounding. It's potent. There's like a
Oh, yeah, I love that. Because Neptune in Pisces is the connection to the divine and to spirit. And when you bring in the Sun in Taurus energy, is about grounding that and knowing that that is real. I just checked the calendar and that May 18th and 19th is actually a weekend. What
okay.
a great weekend. And that card that you just showed us, I mean, surround yourself with people that you feel empowered by, that support your higher aspirations, that really inspire you, that oh, what a great weekend. I love that.
Mhm.
Okay. May 20th, Gemini season. Gemini season. I mean, look, before we move into that, really take advantage of this Earth season. I I was waiting for an Earth season since Capricorn and everything that's happened in between. Really enjoy the grounding energy of Taurus season because once Gemini comes, it's not bad at all. I think it's actually going to make for a great beginning of the summer in the Northern Hemisphere. I think it's going to bring a lot of fun, but it's very, very fast. You'll notice a shift in the air. We'll go from grounded, calm to fast. And what are we going to do? And who are we going to talk to? Again, it can be a lot of fun.
So again, it just makes me laugh how the energy shows up. A page of swords. So swords, air sign, definitely Gemini.
Mhm.
Pages are young and they're youthful, and it's
Yep.
very mercurial and quick and otherworldly and information, and it in a very exalted way. It could be a spirit guide or a guardian angel, but really the energy of this is like, where do I go? Where do I go? Oh, da, 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 da. It's like a kid on a field trip. Like, the school bus ride up there. It's like the doors open. It's like, let's go.
Right.
We just had May the 4th, so just imagine, a convention with a bunch of people walking around with their lightsabers. That's what this feels like to me. Very playful. It's very playful. It's very energetic. It's not very mature, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, you've been locked up for a while in your little cabin, and you finally get to talk to people. So it's like, la, la, la,
Yeah.
la, 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 la.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the next day, Sun in Gemini creates a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So, heads up for the week of the 20th. Again, another great week to present, launch, expose, to put yourself out there, new ideas, new projects. We're talking about air energy. It's communication, connection to those at large, technology. That Sun trine Pluto. So let's say that you start something new with the Sun in Gemini trine Pluto. Pluto's retrograde. So this is great experimentation energy. Um, because Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius. So between now and really the next 6 months, you get to experiment with this new thing that you're doing. And you understand that you're really learning along the way. It's kind of like a teach yourself kind of energy, or like YouTube University kind of energy.
Mhm.
Um, it's really allowing yourself to have fun, to play with something, to think outside the box, to try things and just see how they feel, if they stick, if not. Um, this isn't stickler energy. This is
Mhm.
let's experiment, let's have fun, let's see what else can come from this creative flow.
It's depicted strangely in this deck. I don't know what they're really going for in the depiction of this, but I will explain what it really means. So it's the Two of Wands, and it's a bit weird in this deck.
Yeah.
We won't even look at the card, but two, the 2 and 3 of Wands are typically, oh, let's even talk about the ace, the 2 and the 3. It's a progression, right? So the ace is like that inspiration. It's the
Yeah.
masculine energy. It's a match that's struck. It's a download. Where do we come up with a thought of
Hmm.
a eureka moment? Okay.
Hmm.
The 3 of Wands is more about, I'm going to implement a plan. I'm going to envision and start going A, B, C. So the 2 of Wands is sort of in between those, where, you talk about experimentation and like things like that. It's like a pre-planning plan.
Yeah.
So it goes past the concept and the idea to, well, maybe we connect with that, or how much do those things cost? And should I get this kind of whatever, or should I get that? It's that curiosity, pre planning. You're planning to plan, but it's active. There is an active component in it.
Hmm.
Once you figure out those pieces, then you move on to implementing the plan, to
Yep.
plan the plan. So that's what the two is really like. The 2 of Wands is that. So we just had the Page of Swords running around all, slap happy because it's Gemini season, la, 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 la. And then
Yeah.
it's like, hey, 2 of Wands, maybe I should, well, I never thought of that. What about
Exactly.
this? So maybe I could, oh, I didn't know that existed. You mean I could do whatever? Oh, and it could be in anything. Like it could be like, I didn't know they had courses in that. uh, I didn't know that place had a free education. I didn't know that you could plant this thing with that thing. I didn't know that place was offering a job. I didn't know this was. And so, well, so what do you do with that then? Like,
Right.
do I need to take all of it in? Maybe not. Maybe it's all fluff, except for, maybe it's information for somebody else. Like it's anyway, that's what it is.
Exactly. No, it feels like such a Sun in Gemini trine Pluto in Aquarius. And I just want to name that, I mean, this is really new energy. So what we want to take away from Taurus season is how to ground ourselves.
Mm,
Because as we move through Gemini, all of those placements in Gemini are going to touch Pluto in Aquarius. That's a lot of air.
hmm.
And to your point, it's like, oh, well, what about this? I didn't know you could do that. And then there's this. It's like wanting to take like three certifications at the same time, three certification courses at the same time because you're so excited about it all. So being mindful about that. May 23rd, busy, busy day.
Hmm.
We have a full moon in Sagittarius, which includes a Jupiter-Venus conjunction in Taurus at 29 degrees Taurus, a Jupiter sextile to Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees, and then Venus later that day moving into Gemini till June 17th.
Mm.
Okay, so what does that all mean? First of all, Venus Jupiter conjunction in Taurus. And this is a full moon. So that means that there is a manifestation of something. There's something coming to the surface. I actually love this because both Venus and Jupiter together at the 29th degree of Taurus, an anaretic degree, which is the most potent expression of any sign. This is, again, one of those elements of some money, uh, love, right? Or the reconnection to love with yourself or another. Great healing energy. Um, this is like on a more practical matter. This is like I'm going on a job interview and I've never asked for this much money before, and I'm going to do it, right? And feeling really confident about that, and the cosmos support it because both Jupiter, Venus are connecting to Neptune and Pisces at the 29th degree.
Hmm.
Jupiter, Venus, Neptune, they tend to be boundless energies. There's no boundaries. Anything is possible. In the highest expression, beautiful. Like, do your thing, meditate, you know, put the things on that bring you good luck. By all means, do the things. But this is just like just a, I don't know, like belief. Like this belief and this faith. Like I really believe that this can come true. This is
Hmm.
actually possible. And then taking advantage of that, because once Venus moves into Gemini, it goes from being something internal to being something that we kind of start talking about with others. We start sharing this. We start sharing our ideas. Venus is going to connect with Pluto, which we'll get to in a second. So interesting full moon in Sagittarius.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, you talked about all the stuff as if you were looking at the cards here. We have the 10 of Pentacles, which is the
Oh
most
my God.
money or whatever.
Yes.
Like it's material success. It's
Yes.
also legacy money. It
Yes.
and so if it's not money, it's like the thing that allows you to leave your mark. It's an amazing card. And with that, we have the Magician. So super manifesting time, super lucky, channeling all the whatever. And in this deck, it's cute because it's the rabbit in the magician hat instead of the magician, because the
Yeah.
rabbit plays a part too. And then we were just talking about the Ace of Wands, and there it is. And in this deck, it's like writing out it's like you're writing out your manifestation. We
Mhm.
say in English, we say spelling, we're conjuring, we're writing things out. And then we have the Nine of Wands, which is about boundaries. And so if we've learned anything all of this time, it's no, I am doing this. And all of that, whatever's out there, you can keep it.
Yep.
I'm sitting here with my magic wand. In fact, two magic wands, because we have the Magician and the Ace of Wands.
Love that.
I got 2 magic wands. I got my coffer of coins. You know, all the drama and all the past and all the stuff and all the neediness and low vibrational, whatever, it's all out there. It's okay. I'm good. I know how to create. And part of that too, with the Ace of Wands and the Magician, the 10 of Pentacles, when we're not talking about material goods, it is a grounding, familial, or community oriented card, because it talks about, it's not just a solitary thing, it's the people who impact you and you impact,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
chosen people that you impact. So if it's you start receiving money, or you're doing the work that you're meant to do, and you have children and siblings and parents and people you can take care of, or you're in a community, or you're leaving something behind, you're delegating, you know, these things will do this for you as time goes on, even if I'm not here. It's that feeling. So in a sense, it's solitary, but it's not with the ego. And then there's that other part of, this is my contribution. So you receive knowing that you have way more than enough, and still be discerning that when those things happen, you're also going to get a lot of people going,
Mm-hmm.
oh, can you, and you'd be like, it's okay to actually say no. So I think sometimes when really good things happen to people, they have this sense of guilt
Mm.
that they can be convinced to get rid of everything that they've just acquired.
Yeah.
And that can be time, it can be money, it can be emotional support, it can be a lot of, it can show up in a lot of different ways. And it's sort of a reminder that you can actually choose who and where and how and when, without being greedy, without being selfish, without being a snob or full of ego, whatever. You can actually, you did it. So you can choose how to disperse it.
Yep. Yep. Oh, disperse it. I love that. That's a Gemini word. Venus. Venus and Gemini, the dispersing Gemini of goods, Venus.
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so important. May 25th, big, big day. And again, I will reiterate, we want to take the lessons of Taurus season as to how to ground, as to how to come back to self. Because once once Jupiter goes into Gemini, it will move in on May 25th, 2024, and remain there till June 9th, 2025. It's fast. It's going to move fast. Everything will move fast. I think that Jupiter in Gemini is really going to serve as like an unstuck energy for
Mm,
those who haven't yet experienced the manifestation of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. I think it's going to carry out in the Jupiter in Gemini cycle. Because one of the rules where Jupiter transits is that we get the goods, the gifts, Jupiter, once Jupiter leaves the sign.
mm,
So it usually happens at the end of the sign and into the beginning of a new one. This is a big deal because throughout Jupiter and Taurus, in traditional astrology, it's we're gonna get rich, we're gonna get all the luxury and the money and the stuff. But we had a really significant Venus retrograde last year.
mhm,
Venus rules Taurus. Venus and Taurus rule abundance, wealth, money, all of those things, and the definition of that. So we haven't really been able to lock into the very traditional manifestation of Jupiter and Taurus. I think when Jupiter moves into Gemini, we'll begin to feel that, and we'll begin to feel that quickly. We're
mm,
talking about Jupiter, the planet of expansion, optimism, growth in Gemini, air, energy, communication. Yes, traditionally known to be in detriment. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I think it can be a lot. I think it can be a lot. Too much, too soon, too quickly, too many thoughts, too many browsers open, too many options. That's another thing. How do you find yourself back to your grounding? I think it can make for a fun summer, but also very exhausted by the time we get to fall.
So I'm going to go in reverse and show you this little picture of what you just described.
We're like, no more.
So we were just talking about busting out, right? And
Yeah.
talking to people and, and having healthy boundaries, and then going, oh, I mixed with people. I want to come back and go under my weighted blankie with my headphones on and my blindfold. So the Four of Swords is about that self-care. It's about taking a rest after fighting a battle traditionally.
Mm-hmm.
The card that's with it is the Three of Pentacles, traditionally collaboration, collaborating with others. But the way
Yes.
I see these two cards, the energy that's coming forward here is like a synthesizing. So instead of collaborating, think of synthesizing. So it's not just that we are collaborating with people, but we are synthesizing people, ideas, places, projects, parts of ourselves, whatever, wants, needs, desires, and things we don't want. All, like we're synthesizing that. And oh my God, even just thinking about it on a cellular level, I want to take a nap. Like it's a lot. So when
Yes.
you're saying that, it's a lot, it's a lot, it is a lot, because
Yeah.
the ability to synthesize is great. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be tiring. We did not
Right.
have the ability to synthesize before.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all of these things, and they were just concepts. Now we actually have the ability to synthesize. Well, I can have that contact do this thing and send this thing to that place, and that person can now whatever. And then on Tuesday nights, I can do tap dancing, and then I whatever, and then have time to like it's wonderful, but it's like a big Broadway production with an orchestra. It's not simple, but it comes together. So
Right.
that Four of Swords is also really to remember just because it seemed like suddenly easy and everything's flowing, you really need to take the time for self-care so that you don't get overwhelmed. And it's also a progression, like it's a 3 and a 4, even though it's not the same suit. Whenever we see numbers in sequence, there is progress, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. We're going from a 2 to a 1 to a 3. So that movement, it comes back into balance again, right? Like we had the Empress, and then we had the Emperor, and then we had the Two of Wands going back to an Ace of Wands. Like, the little bit of talk about taking dance lessons. Like, those little basic steps again. And so that 4 going from a 3 to a 4, even though it feels like the 4 is kind of like negative by comparison, it's not. It's the need. When we do all that out there, we have to come back in here.
Yep.
Like, so yeah.
Yeah. Um, on that same day, I missed that we have Venus and Gemini create a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. I like that this is happening because this is about the empowerment of the empowerment that we feel behind our ideas, behind what we're communicating, but also remaining flexible to something new. So it's such a fine line with Gemini energy because it can
Mhm.
get to be too much very quickly, especially if someone's not used to that. It- but the gift of Gemini in the zodiac to the rest of the signs is that there's always a different way. There's always a different way of looking at things, of doing things.
Mm.
But Venus and Gemini trine Pluto in Aquarius on the same day that Jupiter moves into Gemini, it's just there's growth, especially if it's like in community, or I can see like a lot of collaborations, one-on-one collaborations really having a lot of success and growth because of those things coming together. When it comes to relationships, particularly romantic relationships, Venus trine Pluto, we're strong, we're connected, but air signs, I need to feel free. I need to feel liberated. I cannot feel constrained in any way, shape, or form.
And I think that's that duality that we're getting with this,
Right.
you know, the two cards there as well. It's like I say, it's less about the collaboration and more about the synthesizing.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that? And Gemini always feels like, you know, it's the twins, but each has their own very distinct identity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever met twins, they have a tendency to very consciously try and distinguish one from the other.
Right.
If they were separate, completely separate, they would probably be very similar. But
Mm-hmm.
because they're together, they have a tendency to like really assert their uniqueness.
Mm-hmm.
And so that duality, when we're experiencing it, is like, I want all of this and this and this, and I want full autonomy. And I
Yep.
want all of this and this and this, and I want complete uniqueness. So
Yes.
that is what we're feeling in that less collaborative, but more synthesizing. Like, so how do we integrate those concepts? And again, it comes back to that balanced theme that I didn't realize was here, but it is very
Right.
balanced, coming back into balance.
Right. So May 27th, we have Mercury in Taurus sextile Saturn in Pisces. This is great. Lots of air energy that week of the 20th. So lots of woo, woo, look, kind of like just being taken by a whirlwind. For some, it can feel that way. So that Mercury in Taurus sextile Saturn in Pisces, how do I come back? How do I come back? What do I need to take care of? Right? Um, great energy for planning. Mercury in Taurus, Saturn in Pisces. Mercury Saturn is strategy. It's slow and steady. What am I planning for the future? But it's a sextile, right? So this isn't like stringent. This is, what do I know? What am I coming back to? What really matters to me? And again, committing to the simplicity of things. I think that as soon as we, especially with all of that Gemini energy, as soon as we feel that something feels too hard,
Mm-hmm.
I think people are going to be running for the hills. So that can go in a lot of different ways in certain scenarios. But one of the things that I have learned to practice for myself is that as soon as I start making something too complicated, I'm like, okay, why? Is it that I don't, is it, do I really want to do it? Um, what can I delegate?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be this complicated? Does it require this many steps? That's a practice that I have, and I think this Mercury sextile Saturn is a good day or a good time to practice that.
Mm-hmm. So I have the card that is just filled with anxiety. It is it
Oh
is
God.
very much the Capricorn idea of, you know, building the Taj Mahal when only a pioneer log cabin will suffice. This, my daughter, who has the same birthday as you, it is very much that. And then
Yeah.
in the middle of the night, all of this anxiety shows up.
Hmm.
It's not anxiety in the daytime while you're doing the things. It's
Right.
that, oh my God, did I put the thing on the,
Right.
what is the, and like, the thing to remember about this anxiety is that it's not real.
Right.
It feels real, It certainly feels real. You wake up with heart palpitations and cold sweats in the middle of the night going, what have I done? Did I forget the thing? Or what did I just sign? I signed this, or I told the so-and-so no, and they said, oh, and that meant that, like, none of it is real and it doesn't matter. So
Right.
when, again, it's coming back down to, well, no, I did do the thing and I did type the thing and I sent the thing and they did receive it. And then they actually said, yes, thank you very much for the thing. So why am I reading into that?
Right.
Thank you very much for the thing means thank you very much for the thing. Like, and sort of walk, talk yourself off the ledge and walk yourself back to bed. And then, yeah,
That card gives me like what might be like the buildup,
right,
like the
right.
result of the previous week, and then the reminder of what you said. It's not real. The anxiety is not real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. May 29th, Mars Chiron conjunction in Aries at 19 degrees Aries. 19 degrees Aries is so important. That's where we had the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. Mars, the ruler of Aries and its home sign, coming together with Chiron. Few things. Remember, earlier in the month, we had a Mercury Chiron conjunction, which was on May 6th. May 29th can be a time, I think, in which after a lot of healing, a lot of processing, we can begin to move forward with things, especially in relationships. Like this is, I think this can be a good, like starting anew in relationships type of thing. My Mars Chiron and Aries on a very practical interpretation. Be mindful of where you're walking, don't how you're driving, where you're driving. Um, Mars Chiron, a little bit of like fender bender type of thing, like unexpected things. So be mindful of that. But my Mars Chiron conjunction in Aries, I think, is recognizing the potential, which is very Aries and energy, which is Aries energy, the potential, and actually, again, believing ourselves possible because we have healed a lot of that Chiron energy. And at this point, it will be like 10, 12 weeks.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So I spoke about this card earlier, talking about thinking of it in terms of karma and
Mhm.
cause and effect, and it's impartial. It's just, you know, you stick your hand on a hot stove and it will burn. And so you
Sure.
learn not to do that,
Right.
cause and effect or whatever. Um, we want certain things. We look at people in a certain way. It's again balancing out. This is like an ongoing theme.
Mhm.
Justice in this case feels more like, okay, when I actually have integrity, when I actually stand up and I'm accountable for my mistakes, for my choices, for my things, and I do it with humility, it actually clears my karma. It balances things out. Um, things even out again.
Mhm.
So if you're doing things right, and a lot of, and not to get confused with, sometimes people will say, well, I'm a good person, why did this happen to me? Not in that sense, but really when we think about cause and effect, like I put air in my tires, I checked before the trip, I made sure that the spare had air in it, I've got the tools to change it if something should happen, I'm going out on a long trip. It's, you are favored because
Mhm.
the cause and effect of, like, yeah, I just in case I did this, and so the positive thing happens. Or
Right.
you're having I don't know, a business meeting or a client meeting, or in your office, you have to exchange ideas. So that exchange of tit for tat, but in a positive sense, like, well, reciprocity. I am doing this, you're doing that. Oh, you didn't do that, well, I'm not doing this. That goes back to, then the other person comes back or you come back. with something positive, and then it's reflected back at you. So it's,
Mhm.
that ability to maybe mend fences or
Mhm.
bring things back to balance and harmony moving forward instead of have like going down into a negative space, basically.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind all the other stuff about that we've spoken about, having healthy boundaries and whatever. It's not to say, oh, you're just gonna bring everything back into place. No, it's like it's almost measurable
Yeah.
in a sense. You know, it's like, okay, well, you did this for me, so then I can do that for you. Or you did this, and therefore I can do that. Or I've done this already. I've fixed it and cleared it. Now I can do whatever. Or I can expect to receive, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that matters because Chiron is involved, and Chiron has really been the energy that has felt painful
Yeah.
uh throughout eclipse season. And so being very mindful of, like you said, the boundaries and minding how much we're giving and taking and the reciprocity, it's going to help ease that fire.
Yeah.
Finally, May 31st, we have a Mercury Uranus conjunction in Taurus. This is so, this to me is like the surprise email, the surprise phone call, the surprise text, the surprise DM, potential opportunities. Um, you know, this is an element of surprise. Mercury is such a daily energy that, and Uranus is such a, can be like unexpected serendipitous energy. It's like those two things coming together. I I I like that day. I like that day a lot because it's like anything can happen in a really in a positive way. Now, another expression of this is Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So this is like aha moments, ideas, inspiration, a moment of genius, that kind of thing. When if we're communicating, presenting something, an idea to others, that's great, especially to a group of people. Great brainstorming energy. Um, yeah, so this is much more tangible.
Hmm.
This is much more on the day to day.
So the card that I have for that is the Two of Pentacles, which is maybe a little strange. When we think back, the second card we had was the Ace of Pentacles, and then way at the end we've got the two. It's an oscillating vibe. So again, balancing things. So the six of the Six of Pentacles and the Six of Cups, they're about reciprocity, but the twos are really about two forces coming together. With the Two of Pentacles, it's like an on off, an in out, and all very calculable and whatever. Calculatable, I don't know what the right word is. You can measure it and count it. So the Two of Pentacles can be, okay, traditionally it's like juggling things because it's usually a juggler, you know, with that. Um, the energy can be like something shows up and then it's gone. Um, an unexpected amount of money shows up and you need a car repair.
Right. Hmm.
But it's like the solution almost shows up before the problem.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you can, there's a tendency to maybe feel like thrown off or there's something negative, but it's like, oh, the thing, if that first thing didn't show up, when the negative surprise happens, we would be, uh-oh, how am I supposed to pay for this?
Right.
Good thing that sum of money just showed up out of nowhere, and now I can repair the thing, instead of the feeling that we might have of like, oh, I just got X amount of dollars ahead of the game, and now I had to give it all away again.
Hmm.
That's,
Hmm.
oh, I'm so lucky that I got that thing. Now I can fix this thing. So the perspective, has to change there a little bit because it's not negative. It's not like money comes in and money goes out. it's like, oh, how grateful I am that that money showed up so that I could do the thing, or the
Right.
surprise, whatever. Like, even though there's that unexpected nature, and we're juggling, we might feel like we're teetering on something. You know, you're catching a frisbee while flipping pancakes simultaneously. You know, it's the ability to actually do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the key thing. And then to be grateful for the ability to do that, not worrying so much about what's coming in and what's going out, but
Right.
the ability to balance and go like, wow, that's really cool. I never could do that before. I don't know what situation you'd be in to be, you know, making pancakes and playing frisbee simultaneously.
Right.
One of the camp counselors didn't show up, so you have to do both. I don't know, but
Right.
yeah,
Hmm.
it is that kind of thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
not small. It's still, it can feel small, but it's kind of profound at the same time.
absolutely. Whenever I find that Uranus has like is activated on any particular week, I've learned to expect like calls to be canceled because clients have like unexpected things that show up for them. And, all of a sudden I have 2 free days out of my week because that's just the way things happen. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, this is great, right? How do I put my focus on something else? Maybe I'll take myself to lunch. So it's this unexpected type of energy that affects your day, and it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like suddenly you think, well, I'll make good. Yeah. I think a mindset to embody when that happens is like, how can I make this work for me? So
Hmm.
I got a whole day off suddenly, so I'm gonna clean out that closet.
Right. Right.
I wouldn't have been able to do before. So it's like some kind of, but there's movement. Like the Two of Pentacles shows movement and balance, and it's very short, it's a very short-lived energy, in, out, or out, in, whatever.
Very
Like,
mercurial.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes. That is May.
Hey, wow.
Yeah. Lots going on, lots to integrate. It's like we come out of all of that fire, move into earth, and then almost not immediately, but we do move into air. So, I mean, I think that May is going to bring a lot of grounding.
Yes.
As long as we let it, as long as we allow things to be what they are, if we can accept what is, a lot of grounding can come with that so that we can figure out in the calmest way how to move forward.
Yeah, and I think that grounding, enjoy the grounding energy while it's there. Don't
Mhm.
think of it as permanent, like it's, stuck, because think of it like a hot air balloon.
Mhm.
You got the sandbags there, you're ready. That's the Taurus part. It's grounded. We have only so much time. We're going to do all these things, and then the bags get cut, the fire's going, we have liftoff, Gemini, off we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you think, driving on a freeway is tough, I'm sure navigating a hot air balloon is even more challenging. but
Right.
but look at the things you can see from there. So there's a lot about our perspective changing, about how things used to be. But I used to do things a certain way, but I used to do things, or people always, like, all of that energy is in there, and it's falling away whether we like it or not. We have to find new ways of doing things this month, but the universe is supporting that. It's going to be way more easy and way more comfortable if we allow it and go, fine, I'll adapt. Fine, I'll adapt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the perfect way to end it. So thank you all for joining us. We will be back for June. No
On,
Mercury retrogrades ahead.
on time, we'll do it on time. Yeah.
Um,
All right. Yes.
we'll
And
see you all
if
next time.
everybody continues to like and share and subscribe, and I think comments positively impact our algorithms as well. So yeah, if it does resonate with you and you like it, it reaches out there in the YouTube web of whatever, however it works.
Right.
So thank you. Yes.